Good morning. Happy Monday, folks. This is Kurt Von Anen, your host of the Mañana morning check-in. And today is 12/27/2021. And so it's just a couple days after Christmas. I hope that you are finding yourself refreshed. I'm hoping that, if you're not working, if you got time away from the office or away from the job or from the company or whatever it is that you do during the day, I hope that it is restful. I hope that it's, fruitful, restful, valuable, things like that. So as for me, I'm just doing a couple hours today, nothing huge. I'm not, overly committed, still spending time with family. We cleaned up the house this morning, got my daughter off to a ice skating camp that she's working with. And my son is out on a 5-day hiking camping trip with the Boy Scouts. How exciting is that? And a couple things happened over the weekend. So there was Christmas. We celebrated the birth of my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and that was awesome. And hey, if that's not your bag and you did something else, I'm glad that you had that time available for whatever that was. I made a Sunday, took my son out to leave for the scout trip. And I had made a Facebook live, just about dad stuff, hey, it's I can't believe how much he's grown. I'm really proud of him. He's really come into his own. He's very mature, and he's running off with a great group of guys, for the week. And, I'm looking forward to him having a really good time. And then part of the message was some other parents, fathers were going on this trip, but I was not going on this trip. And sometimes I struggle with this. As my kids grow, I consciously pull back a little bit. I think about when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I would bicycle from a suburb of Philadelphia through Philadelphia by myself. I would bicycle to Wildwood, New Jersey one weekend out of the year and bicycle home while I was still in high school. And I had friendships that took me away from home or, away from parents to work with peers and grow with peers and to become the person that I am today. And there's times where I look at these activities now and it almost feels like this helicopter parent thing, that we hear about. And I want my kids to be able to grow into themselves rather than to be under the watchful eye of dad all the time. And so there are trips that I've gone on. I went on a couple of camping trips. I went on a sand dune hiking trip. I went on a mountain bike trip with the troop this year. But for this trip, I thought this will be a really good time for Hayden to get out on his own, with peers and a couple of other adult leaders and just interact on his own to grow and do that. And so part of that live that I made was that question to others, like, how do you feel about this? Right. Like, for instance, I have a lot of experience working with youth at churches. And so we go to a really good church now and my kids are in the youth program and people will, ask me it's a common sense question. Hey, if you have a background in youth, how come you don't serve in this youth program? Well, it's simple. I don't serve in this youth program because I don't want my kids to have to put up with me being in the room all the time. I want them to have their own independent channel to grow away from the supervision of mom and dad. And I know that that's contrary to a lot of thoughts in today's society, but it's one of those things that I've really held to over time. And I feel very committed to it, but I was looking for feedback from others to be like, hey, you know what? I'm always open to be wrong, right? So what was interesting was I actually got a couple of comments back after that. And one was all the way from Scotland. So a guy in Scotland was like, hey, you're doing great. I feel the same way. I'm in Scotland. Don't stop talking. Things like that. And folks, right when you think nobody's listening, right when you think that your message is falling on deaf ears, right when you are like, why do I take the time to talk to people? And then you get a message from around the world that says, don't stop, right? Don't stop talking. Don't stop teaching. Don't stop adding value to people. And in such a positive way. I was really thankful for that message that I got over the weekend. And, I get those every now and then, not often, right? And this is not a shameful plug asking for congratulatory messages. But what I'm saying is when you get that confirmation, that recognition that you are adding value, that something's working, it feels awesome. Now, here's something else that I have realized a little bit over time, because I've gone back and I've looked at some of these Mañana morning check-ins. And especially when I started rebroadcasting the replays on LinkedIn, I noticed not that there was a change of state, not that I was suffering from imposter syndrome or trying to be somebody else. Not that I was actively trying to do that, but people that know me, people that share a room with me, people that have, gone to the races with me and camped over the weekend, they know me as an animated, fun, kind of a crazy person. And then I look at some of these videos and I just seem so serious. Yeah, the content is serious, but you can have fun with the serious content. Like personal development is a serious subject, but there's a time for levity and a time for fun and a time for excitement too. And as I look at 2022 and what we're doing with the Power Sport Academy and how we're adding so much to this thing, folks, 2 years ago, I was in talks with BRP. Everyone knows. In fact, I'm wearing their shirt today, right? So everyone knows that I helped launch BRP's quality service program. I worked with them for a few months. We separated ways, other ways, and I refocused and reconcentrated on the Power Sport Academy and launching that basically as a new platform at that time. If you remember, I was corporately employed with Ducati and then Suzuki, and then I went independent. I picked up that contract with BRP and I was super excited about it. But again, after 3 or 4 months, it was like, okay, this partnership is not this partnership is not in stone. That this needs to go so that we can concentrate on something that is. And so I concentrated on the Power Sport Academy. Now the Power Sport Academy has gone through multiple phases, right? And I tell people this all the time: phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And so it was, 1 was proof of concept. Will people sign in remotely and do service writer, service manager training? Well, the answer was yes. And then we did live remote coaching. So I do these support calls with the people that are enrolled in our courses and do the live coaching support calls add to retention and add to the benefits of training? Yes, it does. And then phase 3, will people pay for this training, right? Because the proof of concept, I brought people in at no charge. And so I brought some folks in at no charge to kind of test it and debug it and all that kind of stuff. So then by phase 3, it was like, all right, can this thing make money? Can we sell this? Yes, we can, right? But the feedback I was getting, because it was in the Mañana No Mas property at first, right? So it was at mañananomas.com with 18 other courses on personal development and goal setting and stuff like that. And so people were a little confused. They were like, why am I taking a course on weight loss when I'm a service writer, right? So there was some confusion as to the content and the goals that the people were trying to reach. So I said, okay, let's do this. Let's do another phase, and let's take the Power Sport required material and let's put it in its own website. And that's when we named Power Sport Academy. So we went from Mañana No Mas with fixed operations training to the Power Sport Academy. So we gave it its own name. We launched it very specifically for motorcycle dealers, because originally we were looking at like marine and RV and bicycle and, trying to be like an everything to everybody situation. And we moved it, right? We said, no, let's just do Power Sport Academy and let's see how this works. Okay. Well, long story short, we're 2 years into this project and it continues to grow. It continues to move forward. It continues to offer value. And I really thought to myself, how can I leverage my skill set, the Mañana No Mas skill set, which is membership and e-learning websites and working with motorcycle dealerships, right? How can I take that as Power Sport Academy and find a way to add even more value to the power sports industry? And we've come up with this. I swear I don't have COVID. It's allergies, I swear. And so we've come up with this plan on how we're going to leverage the Power Sport Academy to help not just service writers and service managers, but to become a type of repository. Now, I'm doing a live webinar on this subject tomorrow at 9:00 a.m. for people in the power sports industry. So if you're in the power sports industry and you watch these, hey, go to powersportacademy.com, click on events. In events, you'll see that there's a webinar that's scheduled for tomorrow. Go ahead and, add that to your calendar, save the link, and come and see us tomorrow live at 9:00 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I'll be going over some details about, hey, what does Power Sport Academy look like as an industry tool? Now, I'm going to be at AIM. So those of you that are in the game, you know what AIM's all about. AIM is going to be in Las Vegas this year. It's going to be live. I'm going. So if you're going to go to AIM and you are a vendor, you have a product, you have a service in the power sports industry, we need to talk. Period. We need to talk. I have been, and I'm gonna wheel this back to where I was 10 minutes ago in this talk. I have been subtle. I have been calm. I have been professional. I have been, I'm not going to say subdued because that's the wrong word, but I haven't been like this excitable powerhouse person that I am. And, you know, again, going through COVID and trying to be gentle and not push people. And here's the deal. Dealers have sold more product in the last year than they have in a decade for a year's sales. Almost every one of the dealers I talk to is up in sales. Okay. So you're up in sales, you're down in product, your supply chain sucks. And so what happens when demand is high, inventory is low? People are going to start pushing their used products and products they would have traded in. They're going to start pushing those to a fixed operation source, right? They're going to start pushing that towards service to get that big service done, get the valves adjusted, get a tune-up done, bleed the brakes, replace the brake calipers, all kinds of things are going to start coming to these service departments. And there's going to be jobs where it's going to be like, hey, this bike used to belong to my brother-in-law, but he died 2 years ago and no one's ridden the bike since. Or, this guy was in the Marines and he abandoned the bike and I just got the title to it and it hasn't been run in 6 years. There's going to be these stories coming to your dealership. And there's a lot of owners out there that are going, oh, we don't work on anything more than 10 years old. We don't work on anything that hasn't been run in 3 years. We don't work on anything. Well, you got to find what are your vertical streams of income? And if sales is going to suffer from a lack of supply chain, how as an overall business are you going to continue to increase your sales, your revenue, and your profits? And if the opportunity is coming through the service desk, we got to train those people how to deal with that kind of customer, how to build those relationships, how to bundle the sales, and how to be the most effective and efficient with the technician's time to turn those items through the shop. And I've got a thing I call the service sales funnel that I go over with my service writers and service managers to make sure that they understand the most efficient way to get work through a shop. Folks, I've been calm. I've been respectful. I've been all these things. And now we're coming to this plateau, right? We're coming to, if you ever did Amway, they used to call it the power curve, right? With Worldwide Dream Builders, they'd call it the power curve. There's a certain graph that works, right? And that graph is like early adopters. When there's about 10% of the adoption rate, it just starts to swing up, right? It gets a life of its own. And this is the same with every product that's ever been done that's been successful. It's, with the telephone, the internet, the, automobile, the, personal computers, cell phones, it starts out slow. You get to a certain buy-in, usually around 10% or so. When you have 10% of the market, all of a sudden things start to ramp up. We are approaching that critical mass, that we are approaching that ramp up period with this project called the Power Sport Academy. And it's super, super exciting because as this ramps up, we're going to be able to hire people. We're going to be able to put, salespeople in the field. We're going to be able to have, in-person coaching trainers that are going to be able to visit dealerships and do needs assessments. I'm going to be on the road. If you're following along on mañananomas.com/fan life, you see that I've got a separate blog where we're building out this conversion van so that we can travel the country and do these fun things. So like me and my family, we're going to hit the road. We're going to go see dealers. We're going to go press the flesh. We're going to go and make sure that there is success in the field and dealer focused success. So I'm super, super excited about it. This is Monday after Christmas. And so, part of my excitement is because I know that after the first of the year, we're moving on a strong push with this. By the time I get to AIM, which is in 3 weeks, right? It's the 19th through the 21st in January. By the time I get to AIM, we're going to have product in the Power Sport Academy that's not the curriculum of the Power Sport Academy. How cool is that? So I don't want to give away too much of the ghost, but we're forming partnerships with other sources of information so that the Power Sport Academy isn't just Kurt and Kurt's crazy ideas. The Power Sport Academy is going to become a repository of valuable information for service writers, service managers, and technicians working with vendors and different companies and suppliers in the power sports industry to become kind of like this one-stop library of awesomeness. And so looking very forward to launching this, pushing this. This is another phase of the Power Sport Academy. The powersportacademy.com is doing fantastic. The curriculum is solid. The website is solid. The e-commerce that runs in the back of it, solid, secure. Really quite happy with everything over the last 2 years with this project. Having run the training department for Ducati and then running the training department for Suzuki, it's really awesome to go independent, start your own learning management system and go, okay, let's get some people in here and make sure it actually works. Let's make sure that the reporting works. Let's make sure that, the one-on-one coaching works. Let's make sure that, and the features that are in the Power Sport Academy, as more and more people join the Power Sport Academy, there's social learning. Students can reach out and talk to each other. You can have private conversations inside the site without it being on, Facebook or TikTok or something crazy, right? And so it becomes this private club for dealers without OEM influence to do the best they can as an independent business. I can't be more excited about. I mean, I could wear a clown hat and blow a kazoo and foghorns and stuff like that. And who knows, maybe that's going to be what I start doing in the future. But I can tell you this, as we come to that critical mass point, the excitement that I feel is, it's not going to be able to be bridled, right? There's so much that's going on. And so as I look at all these puzzle pieces just falling in exactly the way they're supposed to, I am absolutely excited. And, I've already said before, we're going to start making live posts, from the road, right? Here we are next to Tyler Lake in Texas. Here we are at the edge of the Grand Canyon. Here we are, at the top of Rabbit Pass, Rabbit Pass, whatever it is in Colorado, right? Here we are, pardon me. Here we are at the Inner Harbor in Baltimore. Here we are, and it's going to be so cool to be able to travel, broadcast from the road, and see people face to face and make those connections and press the flesh. These do great, right? Hanging out here, doing this thing on Zoom and meetings. What is it? Google Meetings and is it Meet? Google Meet, Teams. Lots of Microsoft Teams stuff going on. I've got some other tools for video and broadcast, but to get out in person, shake hands, press the flesh, and share some hugs with some old friends. That's where the rubber meets the road. That's where the fun is in the industry. And I'm looking very forward to 2022 and this becoming an absolute reality as Power Sport Academy grows, fills in those puzzle pieces, and begins to add even more value to people in the field. Again, it being dealer focused to me is such a huge thing. So, hey, that's that. Today was like a commercial for the Power Sport Academy instead of Mañana no Más, but that's okay. Right? It's like our number one project. For people that follow this channel that are speakers, authors, and coaches, I launched a thing called the Challenge Connection last year. And this is another one of those introspective things. So I launched the Challenge Connection, and I looked at how people were using the site. I looked at how people, kind of come in and leave, right? I looked at the bounce rate. I looked at all kinds of stuff. And then I thought to myself, there's a ton of speakers, authors, and coaches. They need sites. They don't have them. They need a way to put up, an introductory course or an introductory message. They don't have it. Maybe they need a way to introduce an ebook that they've written, maybe just a chapter or two, right? They don't have it. Maybe they need a sales funnel, right? Incorporated into the website so they can communicate with people and build a list. They don't have it. And the Challenge Connection has the ability to do that. And so what I've decided I'm going to do as time allows is I'm going to retool the challenge connection so that the challenge connection can be used just, it can be used for the online challenges the way that it was developed, but it will also be a really good way for people to jump in and make a speaking website and go, here, I'm going to take this picture out and put my picture in. I'm going to change this heading. I'm going to change this paragraph. I'm going to use this form, publish, and have a website so that they can at least start building a list and sending people to a property that's theirs. And so I think that that's a really cool thing to do. And we'll get that released probably in January, right? If it's not January, it'll be February. And then, of course, the first quarter of this year, my new book will be released. And this is my first work on a leadership concept. So I'm very, very, very excited because, again, I studied a lot of leadership techniques. I did John Maxwell, Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, Kevin Cope. I mean, tons of leaders that I have poured my time and energy into to learn from. And even though I love and I value a lot of what I've read from them, there was always a tweak or a question or a perception I had about leadership and the pathway to get to those positions. Because I know I'm not a John Maxwell, I'm not a Tony Robbins, I'm not a Russell Brunson, I'm not a Pedro Adao. I'm not that. They're up here, I'm down here. So when I look at what is the orchestrated pathway, what's the architecture to grow in your leadership and to help as many people as possible, and that's how I came up with my book. Right. And so my book so far, the working title of the book so far is Active Leadership from the Edge of the Circle. And so I am hoping that title stays, but that's because that's what I've been working with. But Active Leadership from the Edge of the Circle. And I'm expecting to have that done and published first quarter of 22. So folks, I'm telling you, there's so much going on. It's you got to stick with it. You got to